Islam, Shalom, Hola, Aloha, Bonjour, Assalamu Alaikum, Osio. This is your brother Zach Bay, Indigenous American Moor, coming to you live in full effect. Like, share, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell down below so you can be notified whenever I'm dropping new content. Leave a comment down below and interact with me. Thank you, I really do appreciate your viewership. Back with another one. Viewer rated and requested Black's Law Dictionary definitions, 4th edition. Let's jump into it. All right, let's see what we have here. I want to start off with public welfare. The prosperity, well-being, or convenience of the public at large, or of a whole community, as distinguished from the advantage of an individual or limited class. All right, it embraces the primary social interests of safety, order, morals, ethics, economics, interests, and non-material and political interests. In the development of our civil life, the definition of public welfare has also developed until it has been held to bring within its preview regulations for the promotion of economic welfare and public convenience. I'm thinking about public welfare as far as when the whole pandemic was going on, how they said it was like public safety. This was the guys they were under, like allegedly talking about the welfare of the public, like the public well-being. As you notice, it says coming to embrace the primary social interests of safety, order, morals, and economic interests. It's kind of weird because morals were definitely at question with the speed of the inoculation, vaccination, that was how quickly it was pushed out. And it seems like the economic interest was really for corporations and big pharma. And it definitely had political interest behind it, for sure. So, that's what made me want to do this definition on public welfare, because I was thinking about the past few years from 2019 to now, to present date. But the public welfare, public well-being was, like, it was paramount, and that's all anybody was talking about for a very long time. But these were some of the guys that they were using in order to enact some of those lockdowns, some of those restrictions. They were saying it was because it was for the public welfare. But, depending on which way you look at it, it did a lot more detriment to the public than it actually did in protecting the public. But let's move on here. All right, this is a really good one, especially since we on YouTube right now. Since there's a lot of copyright strikes that happen, let's just get into it. So copyright law. See, the act of making public a book, writing, chart, map, etc. that is offering or communicating it to the public by the sale or distribution of copies. All right. As employed in the copyright law, means a general publication rather than a limited one. All right, so let's read on about limited publication over a general publication. Limited publication is communication of a literary composition to a select number upon condition expressed or implied that it is not intended to be thereafter common property. To constitute publication within copyright law, there must be such a dissemination of work of art, of work of art itself among the public as to justify the belief that it took place with the intention of rendering such work common property. All right, so just to go into this a little bit, like limited publication over like a general publication when it comes to copyright. All right, when it comes to brands, imagine when brands do like a collab. Okay, so imagine your favorite brand of sneaker. And speaking in this month, Foamposites. If you know about the Nike Foamposite sneaker or tennis shoe, they have recently done a collab with Tekken, the video game. So the PlayStation game or the video game Tekken has done a collab with Nike Foamposite, and it's under a limited publication, which means they're allowed to have certain logos on said product. So Nike can put the Tekken logo on the Nike sneaker, and they can put other images and designs, other things that have already been copyrighted by Tekken, and they can add it to said sneaker, and then they can sell it. But like this states, it's only under a limited it's a limited condition, expressed or implied. So they can only make like a certain number, they can only produce it for a certain time period. It's something of that nature. Or liken it to, say, your favorite clothing brand does a collab with the Supreme brand. So therefore your favorite clothing brand also has a Supreme logo on it, which means it's technically both brands and they're working together in a collaboration, but it's limited. It's only limited to that series of clothing or that time frame. So hopefully that makes sense when it comes to dealing with copyright law. Let's move along here. I want to jump into the law of wills. All right, so this pertains to like last will and testament. A formal declaration made by a testator at the time of signing his will that it is his last will and testament. The act or acts of a testator by which he manifests that it is his intention to give effect to the paper as his last will and testament. Any communication indicating to the witness that the testator intends to give effect to the paper as his will by words, sign, motion, or conduct. All right. So this is very important when it comes to finalizing your last wishes. And when it says the testator must give his sign, that he's given his effects to this said paper, which means like at the time of my demise, I duly sign this with all of my intellect, knowledge, and my well state of mind. I'm not being forced into this, that this is what I want to be executed upon my demise or incapacitation. So that's pretty much what it means when it says they must duly give their effects to the paper. All right. So that's how a living being can give power to an artifact, to an article, to a paper. When it says give the effect, which means you're pretty much giving it power, so something can be executed upon your words, whether you're here to speak them during that time. So you just put it in your words, and you put your faith, and pretty much you swear that this is what you want to happen in order for it to have the full effect. So your loved ones and a executor of an estate can can execute your last will more effectively. Hopefully that made sense. But here's the definition here. You can read it for yourself. You can look more into it. But I definitely wanted to go on over this law of wills and the copyright one. But let's move along here. All right, we're doing a little bit of Latin, a so-called dead language. Publici juris, Latin. See, of public right. The word public in this sense means pertaining to the people or affecting the community at large, that which concerns a multitude of people, and the word right as so used means a well-founded claim, an interest, a concern, advantage, or benefit. All right, so once again, that's Latin, and it's pretty much public. Speaking about the public, the right of the public, of public right, right of the public. All right, let's continue on here. All right, this is a good one right here. Cruel and unusual punishment. Now, we've spoken about punishment, and a lot of people might have heard this term, cruel and unusual punishment. When it comes to prisoners of war, the acts of the Geneva Convention, like outlawing certain war crimes, things of that nature. So when it comes to cruel and unusual punishment, let's see, such punishment as would amount to torture or barbarity, and any cruel and degrading punishment not known to the common law, and also any punishment so disproportionate to the offense as to shock the moral sense of the community. All right, that's a big one. So if anybody is punished more than they should be, it's considered cruel and unusual punishment. See, so disproportionate to the offense. So say a constable or policy enforcer or a police officer sees someone jaywalking across the street when they allegedly don't have the right of way, but there were no cars coming, and they didn't impede any cars and made them have to swerve or stop or slow or something like that, right? So say they stop this person and attempts to give them a ticket for jaywalking. Instead of giving them a ticket for jaywalking, they arrest them, they pepper spray them, and then they book them, and then they somehow get them held for like a 48-hour psychiatric hold or something like that at a hospital, all because they jaywalked across the street. That would be considered cruel and unusual punishment, because the punishment far outweighed the so-called offense or the crime. You know what I'm saying? So that would be cruel and unusual punishment. And it's mostly enacted on people inside of our prison systems, people inside of our jail systems, especially these privately funded and privately owned private prisons that are taking over a lot of the rural communities in this country. They'll build one of these private prisons, and I'm not even speaking on the so-called plans of the mega prisons that they plan to build. I know that they plan to build a mega prison in Oklahoma, but in some of these privately run, privately owned prisons for profit, it's been talks of cruel and unusual punishment, and the fact that they simply want to fill these places up and keep them as close to capacity as possible, because if a number is placed on you and you are placed inside of these cells, your life is pretty much over. Your free will, you're under complete control, and you're under their complete manipulation. You're forced to eat whatever they say you can eat, what you have access to. You're confined. All kinds of stuff can happen to you when your freedom is taken away. So this makes me think of the good brother Tory Lanez, who has been unjustly abducted, incarcerated, and held. There's been claims of cruel and unusual punishment. So Tory Lanez made a post maybe over a week ago, and he was claiming that since his lockdown after the whole Meg Thee Stallion case and all that, that he's receiving, him and other inmates are receiving cruel and unusual punishment, which is completely unconstitutional, completely deplorable. And somebody like him, he has a platform and he has enough fame and wealth and finance to actually, be able to speak out, even though he's on lockdown like that. So it's kind of like a privilege that most people don't have, but he's still using his platform and his voice to try to improve the condition of the people who are being held inside of those containments. But let's move along. Not done yet. Punitive powers. I want to talk about this a little bit. So what exactly are punitive power? The power and authority of a state or organized jural society to inflict punishment upon those persons who have committed actions inherently evil or injurious to the public, or actions declared by laws of that state to be sanctioned with punishment. All right, so this is pretty much the powers that our justice system has. They have punitive powers, the power to be able to punish someone, to be able to hold people accountable, to take people to task, to put wheels in motion in order to keep our society running safely, and to hold people responsible for breaking the law, damaging someone's property, taking the life of someone. So pretty much injuring a party, which are originally what constituted breaking a law. It has to be a injured party. So that pretty much what originally constituted a crime if there was an injured party. But yes, punitive powers are the powers that the state, when it says the state, I mean, it's like, the so-called justice system, people who are placed in power in those seats, deputies, or sheriffs, deputies, sometimes state policy enforcers, judges, pretty much, that constitutes of the state and the powers that they have to actually hold people to task. That's punitive powers. Hopefully that made sense. Let's see, what's the next one? I'll skip over that one. All right, I want to do the pursuit of happiness. This one was pretty interesting to me. All right, pursuit of happiness. We all know about this quote from the Constitution, from the First Amendment. The pursuit of happiness. What does it mean? As used in constitutional law, this right includes personal freedoms, freedom of contract, exemption from oppression or invidious discrimination, the right to follow one's individual preferences in the choice of an occupation and the application of his energies, liberty of conscience, and the right to enjoy domestic relations and the privileges of a family and a home. All right. And the second part would be the right to follow or pursue any occupation or profession without restriction and without having any burden imposed upon one that is not imposed upon others in a similar situation. All right. So that constitutes the pursuit of happiness. One of the main things I want to say was look, freedom of contract, which means you have the right to contract with anyone, and you have the right to decline contracts from anyone. That is the freedom to contract. So so-called driver's licenses, things of that nature, marriage licenses, those are contracts. You have the freedom of contract, which means you have the right to deny that. And it says exemption from oppression or invidious discrimination. And so you're free from being oppressed and discrimination purely by pursuing your dreams, your goals. And you should have free reign to do all of that and to have the type of family that you want. All right. So, when the Constitution was adopted to this country, the authors of the constitutions were very, very wise. The authors of the Constitution were very wise, and they had the foresight to put pieces like this inside in order for the people who are protected by the Constitution to always have happiness and freedom, and to not be turned into serfs, peons, and slaves. All right. So let's continue. This is going to be the last one I want to do for this video, but this was interesting. Speaking on old U.S. customs, laws, traditions. Quadroon. Exactly what is a quadroon? A person who is descendant from a white person and another person who has equal mixture of European and African blood. That's very, very telling. See, these older definitions were very, very good, because these were terms and these are legal terms that were used back in antiquity to discriminate against people, to label people. So this country discriminated against certain people due to blood mixtures and blood quantums. So when it comes to the Dawes rolls, or the Freeman rolls, when it comes to being indigenous and being a enrolled member of the tribe, of a American Indian tribe, so-called civilized tribe. They, when I say they, I mean the government and other governmental entities used blood quantums, and they used laws and definitions like this in order to divide people. But just in case you didn't know what a quadroon is, and there's another one, octoroon, and before this there's one called mulatto. So like terms like mulatto, terms like quadroon, terms like octoroon meant blood quantum. What is your mixture of blood with European and African, or European and Indian? Pardon. So I really did want to just go over this last little bit and end it right there. That was the last definition for now. Black's Law Dictionary. This is your brother Zach Bay, Indigenous American Moor. Peace.